Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting back into? We are getting into Married at First Sight Australia, and we are now on episode 10. And series 11. You know it's series 11, don't you? But before we get into this episode, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know I'm doing videos. And let's get into this episode. So we already know what happened on the Confessions of the Couch, aka the commitment ceremony. We already know Tim spoke up, or tried to speak up, in regards to his feelings around Sarah. And we already know, before that commitment ceremony was done, we knew that Tim was going to get it right in the motherfucking neck for speaking out in the way that he spoke out, because Sarah was not happy. An hour after, yeah? An hour after, let me tell you. So, basically, Sarah was having a go at Tim, saying that she felt blindsided by Tim. Tim, I think that was the only way he could have done what he did, because at the end of the day, as he's already said, she intimidates him. We've already seen how she loves to talk over this man. We've already seen that this man is trying so hard to articulate himself and get his words out, and she will just literally jump in and speak for him and speak over him and speak about him and speak to him. She has no respect for this man in the slightest, and what she's doing is wholly wrong. It's wholly wrong, because at the end of the day, she needs this to give Tim space in which to be able to say what he needs to say. So right now, he's getting the clap back. He knew he was going to get the clap back from Sarah. So she then internalized stuff by saying it made her look stupid. And I'm like, stop thinking about yourself, Sarah. Stop thinking about yourself and think about why Tim had to say it, or try to say it in the way that he said it at the commitment ceremony. Think about why he couldn't come to you and say that shit to you, because you're behaving exactly how he knew you would behave. Every time this man's come to you about something, you literally want to shut him down completely. So she then turns around and says that he made her seem like she was defensive about not sharing her phone with him. And basically he turned around and says, well, you were. In other words, your tone was off. And she was saying, yes, I was forthright, and I was, what's the word? Anyway, I can't remember the word. But yes, she was forthright in saying it, but she wasn't defensive, right? So she then turns around and she says, if you need to look in her phone, it means that you don't trust her at the end of the day. That's what she's saying to Tim, that she believes he does not trust her if he needed to have a look in her phone. And what she's not putting in that bloody cerebral cortex of her is, it was about Confessions Week. It was about learning to trust your partner. So even if you gave that man your phone, Sarah was saying there was nothing on that phone that he would be concerned about. Shouldn't be an issue then for him to have a quick squidge at your phone, the same way Tim was willing to give Sarah her phone. Because I'm telling you, this girl is texting her ex. That's what she didn't want him to see. This girl is playing some serious games and she's trying to hide it, and that's why she won't give Tim the phone. I'm telling you, I haven't seen any of the episodes yet, and I will be seeing the last one that I need to see and probably be putting it on tomorrow. But I'm telling you, deep down in my soul, that's why she wouldn't give Tim the phone, because I still believe Sarah's texting her ex. So then, as they're having this conversation, all the conversation's filtering off, Tim is feeling a little bit dejected, and she goes and answers the door because there's a knock at the door, and apparently it's girls' night with Sarah, Lauren, Eden and Tori. And then Tori's liking themselves to the Stepford Wives or the Calendar Girls. I'm telling you, Tori has a weird view of things. Like, really, she really does have a weird view of things. I don't know how she can be so complacent with Jack. I really don't. I don't get it. Like, the red flags are being shown to her surrounded by glaring amber lights, and she's still not seeing it. I mean, a fucking person who does the conducting of the planes with the lights could show her the red flags, point her to the red flags, and she would still act like she can't see nothing. Anyway, so when the girls got together, Tim did leave, and Lauren said that she most found shocking and most annoyed was Collins. And I knew they were going to say Collins, because people were taking the piss out of Collins, like, seriously. Because if you ever watched it, you would understand what the hell I'm talking about in the way that Collins acts. It is absolutely, it's not even Oscar worthy, as I said. It's not really Oscar worthy, but it's something else. It's a sight to behold, to watch Collins literally pretend to cry and make all these weird fucking noises like he's upset. I don't know who taught him to do that. I don't know if he's been doing that from when he was a kid and his parents never stopped him from doing it. But I'm telling you now, when he watches this back, hope to God that he stops doing that shit, like, seriously, because it ain't becoming at all. I don't really think Collins, as I said, he's not serious about this experience. He doesn't like Natalie, and all the other wives has picked up that he don't like Natalie at all. But all I can say is I don't see not one of them going and checking on Natalie and see if she was okay. Not one. And, like, it's all fine and dandy they're taking the mick out of Collins, but what about Natalie? So then we get to see Lucinda and Tim, and Lucinda's feeling a bit of humiliation. The reason why she's feeling a bit of humiliation is because she's now realised that Tim is kind of a sexual being, because she's adduced it to, you were with the lads, and basically he's supposedly, I would say supposedly, because this is what Richard's saying, when they're on the box night and drinks was flying and they were getting loose-lipped, yeah, he supposedly said that he would sleep with his wife on the first night. Now, Lucinda's taken that to heart because he has not done that with her. He's not been tactile with her, really. He's not really opened up in the way that she wants him to open up. But all I would say on the flip side is Lucinda needs to give this man space. She's always up in his craw every 5 fucking minutes. She doesn't stop. So now, they're sitting at the table and they're having this conversation, Lucinda and Tim. And Tim is basically saying to her, it's just something that was said at boys' night. He doesn't remember the context of what was said. He doesn't remember how it was said, but it's something that was just said. It just flew out of his mouth. He was being loose-lipped at the end of the day because the drinks were flowing. Lucinda's then asking him and questioning him like they're still sitting on the commitment couch at the end of the day. It's like she's become this expert in terms of asking whether Tim is in or out, whether he's attracted to her, and then asking what his intentions were. And I'm just like, my girl, come on. Wind your neck in a little bit and slow your roll. Like, seriously, slow your roll. So Tim really didn't have any answers to her questions because he was like, I'm feeling like I'm back on the couch and I don't want to have these feelings. She then continued with asking, how are we moving forward? So he says to her that you need to just give it some time. And I'm like, it's all well and good, Tim, you saying to Lucinda you need to give it some time, but this woman's working on a time frame. She needs to know what time frame you are working on, to be fair, to know whether she should continue putting her all into you or she should actually try and step back from you at the end of the day, just to see whether this is working or not. Because right now, I get that Lucinda's feeling left out on a limb, but also as well, Tim's got to give her something, like, because how long is a piece of string at the end of the day? So Lucinda then asked him about him bending to compromise and all this dance and everything. Tim, at that point, Tim got hella pissed. He got pissed the hell off. He got up from the table and said, you know what, I can't do this now, because now you're starting to piss me off. I mean, there's only so far you can push a person. Like, seriously, there's only so far you can push a person until they start stepping back. And Lucinda's literally continuing to push and push and push and push and push because she wants the answers, and she wants the answers now, and Tim can't give her those answers. So Tim is the type of person where what she has to realise is he's lost close people out of his life. He's the only family member left in his life, basically. He lost his dad, 6 weeks before filming, before coming in to mass at the end of the day. So he's going to have that feeling of everybody that he loves that comes into his life and ends up leaving it somehow, and it always causes an emotional impact upon himself that he then internalizes and pushes down, because you know he was taught not to hug as we continue. He was taught not to cry, all of those things. He was taught a certain way of how a man should be, which is the toxic way of a man should be. So he doesn't know what else to do but shut down, get pissed off and walk away when it gets too hard for him, and that's what he did with Lucinda. All I would say is I think there's a chance that they could make it. There is a chance that they could make it, but I think there's going to have to be some compromise between the both of them, and Tim's going to have to progress a little bit more steadier than what he's doing at the moment at the end of the day. So he did bugger off, he did go out, left Lucinda to herself and didn't come back till like late. Nobody knew where he went. He comes in and he just is like, oh hi, how you doing? I'm thinking, oh, is that it? You ain't gonna tell the woman where you been, what you been up to, nothing. Just, oh hi, how you doing? Like nothing happens. Lucinda was open to him saying hi. She stepped back, said hello, He turned around and he said that he'd gone to the gym. Didn't necessarily do anything at the gym, I don't think it was, or he was talking about doing pull-ups, but he can't do pull-ups because he says that he's too big. Tim says that he struggles with a lot of things, and Lucinda, as I called it, says that he puts up a wall to protect himself, but Lucinda wants to help him embrace himself. That's why the experts put them two together. But I'm just like, she can't fix him. You can't expect her to put all her energy into him in trying to uplift him and do what she can for him if Tim is not open and accepting to it. You cannot fix what has potentially harmed or hurt or trauma-filled Tim. Only experts can do that with him, and it is going to be a long process over time for him to be changed, the behaviours of a lifetime. So as I said, I think sometimes Lucinda needs to reflect and know when she's pushing this man too hard too soon. And it ended on them laughing and joking with each other, and she's saying that she's grateful for Tim being there and the fact that she's able to go through the experience with him. And Tim didn't really say likewise, and he didn't even apologise for how he behaved with her, do you know what I mean? He could have at least come in and said, you know what, I'm sorry for storming off in the way that I did, but this is the reason why I've done that. Tim needs to learn how to communicate effectively with Lucinda, and he doesn't. He literally doesn't. It's Lucinda trying to bend to him and work with whatever it is that he's giving her or showing her at the time, and that's not wholly fair on Lucinda. So then we see Jack having a chat with Tori in the flat, and he's saying to Tori that he was looking forward to when he got on the couch with her. But then in his VC, he's turning around and he's saying he thought Tori was a fierce, independent woman, but she's not challenged him yet. And he said, so far, so good for him. What did I tell you, this man? Jack is playing games with Tori, and Tori is so up in the clouds that she is not seeing the man who is Jack, the type of person that Jack is. Like, seriously, I honestly don't get it, because Tori has completely fallen into that little submissive role that Jack says he's attracted to. He don't really want a woman to challenge him at all, because trust me people, yeah, if Jack had a woman that could challenge him, that man would not cope. Like, seriously, that man would not be able to cope. He would get rid of her quick smart, because he wants to feel like he's the dominant person within that relationship, and he ain't. Jack is just a pussy in sheep's clothing. That's all I'm gonna say. That is what a Jack is. Actually, not sheep's clothing, wolf clothing. He's a pussy in wolf's clothing. That's what Jack is. Like, seriously. That's why I don't know how Tori is not seeing any of this. So he turns around and he asks Tori if she's good. So Tori says that she didn't want their first argument to be on the couch. My girl, you was not going to argue with that man. You was not gonna argue with that man, so let's keep it 100 right now. That girl was not gonna argue with him. She agreed with everything that man was saying and what was coming out of his mouth. She was being the perfect wife to his jackassness. Let's put it that way. So then she turned around and she said that she had not processed it yet. No, but you processed it enough to believe what Jack was saying and saying that it was a disgruntled ex. So you processed it enough for that. Do you know what I mean? She goes on to say in her own VC that she doesn't trust people straight away, but when you have it, it is unconditional. And I'm like, well, Tori's mouth is saying something different to the actions that she's given with Jack. The man made her look like a dickhead on the couch and she absolutely took it. My man admitted to the fact that he had a girlfriend. Now, fuck this casualness, because Jack was not in a casual relationship with the girl that did the article, yeah. He had a relationship with this girl, yeah. And he decided to still be with her while he was applying this show to get married to someone else. Now that has to tell you something about the character of this man. You heard all of that. You heard him admit to that, yeah, while he was going through the process to meet you. He was in a relationship, so he didn't really need to come on this show. But yet you wanna sit there and have this man's back. Okay. He's saying to Tori that he is trustworthy and committed and he is the one for her. She responds that she feels it. There's no helping Tori now. She's gone to the sunken place. Tori has gone to the sunken place because the foundation of their actual marriage is completely built on lies. It's completely built on the fact that this man don't really want Tori. He don't find her attractive. He don't find her in the least bit sexually attractive, yeah. All he wants to do is fuck with her head. That's all he wants to do. He ain't gonna sleep with this girl. He ain't never gonna sleep with this girl. He's just gonna string her along and see how far he can push her and take it, and see if she'll explode at some point. And then he'll see if he's attracted to her at that point. And this is why I said in the very first, when we went over the very first dinner party, and he was talking about how Tori had his back, and he turned around and said that how she's had my back makes her emotional maturity, makes me feel more attracted to her. That was him, as I said, that was him giving her something for being a good looking girl, for her having his back. That's what he's doing. This man don't want her. He's playing games with her, but she don't want to see it. And you know what? It's gonna come home to roost for her soon enough. It really is. It's gonna come home to roost for her soon enough. So then you see Natalie and Collins. They're still in separate apartments. Collins keeps on going on about how he's saying he's learning a lot about himself. What I'm learning about Collins is full of shit. Like, seriously full of shit. And if he didn't have to be married to Natalie and still stay in maths, he would do that. Let's just call a book at the end of the day. That's what Collins would do. He then goes on to say that he's there for Natalie. And even in him saying he will fight for Natalie and what they have, no passion at all. It's like he wrote it down or wrote it on his hand for notes and read it off script, man, because there was no substance to it at all. So Natalie goes down to see him, and again, it's an actual friendship hub. But I think at this time, Natalie has literally got the ick for this man, but she just wants to see what he's going to say next, to see if she could at least work with it. Do you know what I mean? So he then walks in and he says that he found her cute and heartwarming. Again, the mother chat. I'm not feeling it from you, Collins. I'm not. We're not feeling it from you at all, Collins. Then Colin goes in for the performance again, and I'm telling you, this man is doing too much. He's doing way too much. He went bowling Natalie over with his performance at all. Natalie was looking at him as like, what the fuck reality, or what the fuck kind of world have I just jumped into with this man? Like, seriously, what am I watching? So he stays putting that show on to her, yeah, and he basically says that he wants to show her and try his best. So Natalie asks him, can you tell me, apart from the honeymoon, when they have been together, what had made him happy? Again, over the top performance for Collins. He's like, every moment I see you, as that is what I am here for. I'm like, my guy, come on. Like seriously, come on. Come on. And as I already said, it's time for Natalie to cut that fucking string and say, do you know what, I'm gone. I can't do this no more. So basically, Natalie turns around to him and says that she feels that he is doing like an Oscars performance. She can't listen to him without hearing an orchestra. So Collins turns around and says, this is Married at First Sight, and I feel you have mine made up at first sight. And I was like, no, Collins, don't do that. Don't do that to Natalie, because Natalie was fully into you at the wedding, especially when she realised how much you two had in common and how nerdy you both were. You literally took a step back away from her at that wedding because you realised that your level of, you know, rariness was up there, but Natalie's level of rariness was a little bit higher than you, and you didn't know whether you could match that or whether you wanted to match that. So at the wedding, Collins, it was you. It was you who made your mind up at first sight, not Natalie. So Collins needed to get that one right. So Collins doesn't get it at all. He honestly doesn't get it at all. So Natalie has just basically said that if this is the real him, she doesn't know if she'll be able to do with it, because it will be hella exhausting to deal with that day in, day out. And it will be. Just watching Collins is exhausting. So basically she turned around and she says to Collins, I'm done, that's it. I don't feel that she can build. She said she don't feel she can build a romantic connection with him. And she said that it was time for her to go. Collins was acting like it was devastation 100. And even in the way that he wished her best of luck was freaking staged. It was staged and it was awkward and it was awful. So Natalie got her bags and she left, and that was it for Collins, because I know full well Natalie ain't coming back after that one. So intimacy week comes a knocking. So we don't see what happens between Cassandra and Tristan, even though we know Tristan is nervous about being rejected by Cassandra. We don't see what happens with Sarah and Tim just yet, but we know that Sarah and Tim are not in that romantic mood, but Tim has confidence that this will help them. But sometimes I think Lauren needs to slow her roll. Yeah, like seriously, and I'll come to Lauren soon enough. Andrew and Richard got on with it like a house on fire. Not really anything to write home about them. But then it gets to Tim and Lucinda. And they did do the first task, but then something happened during that time between Lucinda and Tim. Tim says that he does not feel good. So he says they're getting on well with each other and it's intimacy week. So then he says Lucinda that night got in bed and then turned around to him and said, I hope you don't mind, but I don't have a shirt on. For Tim, it was a big thing because he wasn't at that stage with Lucinda as yet. But Lucinda is very much comfortable in her own skin. Now, Tim was a bit of a hypocrite, because at the end of the day, as Lucinda said, Tim has been going to bed with no pajama buttons on, just in his boxers. So Lucinda was comfortable for him to do that, but he's not comfortable for Lucinda to actually take off her top and lay in her bed with her bare breasts out. I mean, you ain't touching her, so what the hell? She can do what she wants in her own space, do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's who Lucinda is. Lucinda said when she's at home, she usually sleeps in a nudie. My girl told you she was going to sleep with the top off. She weren't expecting nothing off you. She was just letting you know so you didn't feel uncomfortable in that fact. Because at the end of the day, she's had to get into bed with Tim, with his bottom half off. So he can't then govern what Lucinda does with her body and with her breasts at the end of the day. But the one thing that made me laugh is after that argument, Lucinda completely told him that he was absolutely rude, got up, then walked to the door and then turned around to Tim and said, you got boobs too, love, you've got big boobs. And then walked out the door. Tim didn't know where to put himself. Oh my God. That was hilarious. No, seriously, that was, if you have watched it, that was hilarious. Because I'm like, how dare you, Tim, try and shame Lucinda into being comfortable in her own space enough to take off her top and lie in her bed with. How dare you shame her for that? Because at the end of the day, with him saying that, would make it seem to Lucinda that don't do that, because I really don't want to see your body. Your body abhors me in that sense. I'm not attracted to you. Please don't open up that part of your body to me, because I really don't want to see it. That's how that would have come off to Lucinda, and Tim did not get that. Like, seriously did not get that. So Lucinda did tell him, after she told me I had boobs, at the end of the day, make sure you put on pajamas. You want me to put on a top when I go to bed, put on your full pajamas before I get in my bed, Dessa. And I thought, good on you, Lucinda. No, because Tim was being an arsehole. Tim was being an arsehole. There may be different connotations to that from other people, but me, myself, my opinion is Tim was being an actual arsehole with that. So then we get to Lauren and Jonathan, and they had to do the eye gazing. Already Lauren was like, not doing it, don't want to do it. Basically because she was talking about her lazy eye, and she didn't really want him to look directly into her eyes. Jonathan wasn't bothered. He just wanted to get it done. Lauren was, on the other hand, felt that it would be kind of forced between them at the end of the day. So she started going at Jonathan for not saying what it was that he was exactly thinking, and telling Jonathan, if you think it's cringe, then say that it's cringe. So she was pushing him to try and get a rise out of him. And I don't think Jonathan was particularly bothered at the end of the day. My thing with Lauren is she's trying to push Jonathan, or place Jonathan where she believes, or not even she believes, where she's had those relationships with guys. Remember in her VC, she says that she's a red flag girl. Like, you see red flag, she's immediately attracted to it. So she's been out with those types of guys, and in the way that they behave, she knows. So she can't expect Jonathan to behave in the way that she's expecting him to, because that's unfair to Jonathan, because he's not that type of person. As he said, he's spent so much time on himself trying not to be that type of person again, because he was that type of person before. He doesn't want to go back there at the end of the day. Yes, I hear Lauren's complaints in regards to the fact that he's always one level when he speaks. There's no passion to him, But Jonathan is a monotone guy. Like, he speaks in a monotone. It would get on my rotted nerves speaking in a monotone, but I ain't gonna fucking lambaste him for it at the end of the day, or try and push him to be someone that he obviously is not. Yes, he turns around and he tells her like how he feels, and then she switches on him and has a go at him when he fucking well tells her how he feels. Like, he feels that she complains at him too much, or she gives him mixed messages. She's like, well, that's not fair. You've had all this time to say this. All I'm asking you, get where I'm coming from, is you need to say what you're thinking when you're thinking it. Don't wait all that time and then tell me. That's what Lauren was going on with. I am paraphrasing there, but that's what Lauren was going on with. But no, what Lauren does is, when Jonathan does do what she wants him to do, she then throws something else into the mix and gives that man total and utter mixed messages, to the point where he doesn't know whether he's coming or going with this girl. Like, seriously doesn't know whether he's coming or going with this girl. And Lauren is not even open to recognizing that the way in which she speaks to Jonathan is coming off really harsh, really coming off really tone deaf, and coming off as though she's literally belittling this man for his personality, which I think in myself is absolutely disgusting at the end of the day. Some of these people need to learn reflection. Lauren's a person that needs to learn reflection. Sarah's a person that needs to learn reflection. I think Jack, definitely person that needs to learn reflection. Tori needs to learn how to reflect. And I think also Tim and a bit of Lucinda need to learn how to reflect, because they don't. So then you see one of the experts go to see Tim and Lucinda. Tim is totally apprehensive when that expert comes through the door. I cannot remember what her name is. She's the one from Colombia. So basically, Tim they say that Tim is constantly battling against Lucinda instead of bending into in terms of trying to open up to Lucinda. And Lucinda turns around and says that she's feeling highly rejected from Tim, which is understandable. To be fair, it is the way he behaves would lead to a person feeling completely rejected by their spouse. Bert says to them that she wants them to do what's called a melted hug. Again, Tim is on the back foot, doesn't want to do it because at the end of the day, he really isn't a hugger. And then that's when he opened up and he said that he would used to hug his dad, and his dad used to reject his hugs. But I'm still of a view, if Tim really was in it with Lucinda, he would do it. Like, seriously, he would do it. If he really wanted to try and get to that full-on connection with a woman that he says that he's searching for, especially within his bride, yeah, he would try everything that he would. But right now, for me, Tim is not trying. He's seriously not trying. I understand that he's got a lot of trauma filled in him. And this is why I keep saying I don't understand why people with so much trauma in them and so much sadness and so much emotional stuntedness apply for these shows, because they've not even tried to heal in any way, shape or form, and then they come in and then it's the person that they don't get with that is catching the brunt of all the bullshit, which isn't fair at all. Come on, you gotta at least work on yourself. At least work on yourself. Show some inner reflection in order to be a better person for the person that you're with. And this is what annoys me about sometimes with reality TV. So Tim opens up and said that he would try this melted hug. Lucinda was totally fully into it because she knows exactly what it is. Lucinda's very spiritual, so she knows what this entails. When they were both face to face, they got close enough but didn't put their arms around each other at all at that point. Tim still looked rather stiff. And then what they had to do is then hug each other. And then what you do is you listen to each other's breathing, you listen to each other's heartbeats, and you get closer and closer and closer to the point that you're kind of melting into each other and just listening to each other. Lucinda was fully into it. Tim, give him his props. He did do it. He did. And he felt that that hug was pleasant and comfortable for him, but only pleasant and comfortable. And this is what I'm saying. Lucinda still has to be careful, because now from that, she's all open again. She has this gung-ho and high hopes for Tim. And Tim's now saying that he feels more hopeful off a hug. And I'm like, that's not going to be the be all and end all, because there's other things that's going to come and test you and Lucinda, and you need to be in it 100, like seriously, because I ain't seen it from Tim at the moment. So then it moves to Tori and Jack, and for their one, they literally had to answer their own questions in terms of a sexual activity. So basically it's kind of like what type of sexual activity they're into, whether it's a I think it was yes, no, or maybe answers that they had to give. I'm like, Tori's getting all gung-ho with this. And I'm just talking about how the fact that Jack is so, as well, Jack is what? Jack is so, he props himself up in regards to his sexual prowess and that he's this most dominant and passionate lover. And I swear down, when it's those that blow their own trumpet in regards to how they say they're good they are in bed are the worst ones. They're the most selfish ones. That's how I find it coming up, that they are the most selfish lovers ever. They don't know your needs and they don't know how to meet your needs. And that's what Jack is reading to me at the end of the day. He loves the sound of his own, but he loves to blow his own trumpet and say he's this dominant and passionate lover, that he's a really good lover. Bet you, bottom dollar, he ain't. Like, he really ain't. He's a very selfish lover. He ain't. Anyway, so in terms of pinching a partner, they both said yes. And then Jack said yes to something that was an ick for Tori. Now, she didn't come out and say what it was, especially when she was talking in her VC. So I think it had to do with bottom play. It had to, either it was the full-on bottom play or it was rimming. That's the only thing that I think she would have an ick for. But Jack was saying that he was gung-ho for in that sense. Now, I don't know why Jack is bigging himself up to Tori, because I'm telling you, Tori is not going to get a taste of this man. She's not going to get a taste of this man, but she ain't seen what this man is putting out. But hey ho, me have to leave her to it. So that's essentially where the episode ended. But I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always ask, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so you know I'm on and doing videos. And also, like, comment and share all the good stuff. I'm going to start putting that at the end of my videos as well. And probably at the beginning too, because that's what I need you to do as well. But either way, I'm glad that you're here with me. I'm glad that you stayed with me to the end and listened to what it is that I had to say. All I'm going to say for now is peace out.